Today's coverage is brought to you by EBC Brakes, the official sponsor of the 2019 MotoAmerica Superbike Series. All right, so here, Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We see a hole in the grid, but Jason, let's go over it because Tony Elias obviously on pole, Josh Herrin and Cameron Beaubier like we saw.
Yes, then we got Garrett Gerloff, Cameron Peterson on row 2, tremendous effort again. Matthew Schultz there on the outside of row 2. On back to row 3, see J.D. Beach, David Anthony, Jake Lewis. Have a talk about David Anthony in a minute. Kyle Wyman, Jake Gagne, and Max Flinders will round out row 4. And then we have Sam Verderico back on row 5. That gap you see in the middle of your screen there, David Anthony, apparently he came to this event, Greg. He had an accident prior to the event, and he's been doing his best to try to make it through the weekend. He decided after warm-up today to head to the hospital. Turns out he's got 5 broken ribs from a motocross accident, training accident from probably earlier in the week. He was trying to man it up and try to do it, and our thoughts are with Dave Anthony and hoping he's going to continue to get better and be ready for Utah. Ribs can take a long time, and we only got, like you say, 13 or 14 days until we got to be there. So hopefully David will start feeling better. But we are going to have, I think, with the conditions the way they are, it's just, I mean, maybe not more perfect than they can be. I'm looking at the trees to see the wind, and it is pretty still out our window right now. I can see a couple flags moving around. But are we going to continue to see any fireworks from what we saw yesterday? Will there be some runoff on that? We'll have to see.
I talked to Josh Herrin about it before we came in the commentary booth for this one, and Herrin said, look, I was over it pretty much when I came in, and you saw the interview that he did with Hannah and what he said on that one. Josh is in a very unique situation. His teammate leads the championship, but he has got a job. He's got a 1-year contract. Every time he goes out on the racetrack, he's fighting for the job, and he wants to pass and he wants to race, but he also wants to have a Yoshimura Suzuki 1-2. So it's a very interesting situation that Josh Herrin is in.
Josh wants to win.
He wants to win, and he knows, look, there's no chance for him to get back over to the Yamaha booth or whatever, but so it's a toughie. But let's get down to Hannah with our Cycle Gear last-minute report. What's up, Hannah?
Now, Greg, you mentioned this yesterday, but unfortunately, Kyle Wyman crashed out of the race, and in doing so, he snapped off one of the winglets that are on the front fairing that he runs throughout the weekend. I talked to the team, and because they purchased 2 V4Rs, they actually replaced the missing wing with one from the backup bike until they're able to have more made. I also talked to the team, and they made some big chassis changes for Kyle today in the hope of getting him up front. He was running pretty close lap times to that front pack, so keep an eye out for him.
Awesome. Yeah, part of the winglets that you're seeing on that Ducati V4R allow Kyle, Jason, to go over the wheelie hill on the front straightaway, 100% throttle with no interruptions with electronics.
Yeah.
And that's a stock motor, and he's been right up at the top of trap speeds all weekend long. And it's required to run those winglets because it's stock on the bodywork that comes with the bike.
When they homologate the motorcycles, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's got to come with that. So, the thing is, I talked to Kyle quite a bit this morning myself, and he said, Jay, I put myself in a bad spot, like off the start yesterday, and he at one point was dead last, so he had to come back through, and we saw him kind of getting on the back of that lead group before his accident. So we'll hope for some better things from him. Today, right off the start, I think he's going to be looking for some improvements.
I'm looking for Garrett Gerloff. You can see the championship point standings the way they are. Long conversation with Garrett, and he said yesterday part of his problem was a yo-yo effect where he was stronger in sections and weaker in other sections of the track, and he's looking to really improve that today. And he felt good, but he's looking for solid, consistent laps. He wants to be there, and he just doesn't want to create any gaps. He's just got to stay in the mix. And then he'll let it sort itself out, and then he'll fight for his very first EBC Brakes Superbike race victory towards the end of the race. So here we go. Superbike, race number 2. EBC Brakes Superbike class is getting ready to go. And that was a quick start. And Tony Elias got a launch. So did Josh Herrin. And here come 2 Yoshimura Suzukis heading off into turn number 1.
It almost looked like Josh missed a gear. He got a good launch, and he's going to filter in behind his teammates. There's some great on board here from Cameron Beaubier. You see Garrett Gerloff goes by him as well, but Josh got a good launch. Maybe just missed a gear real quickly there, but he'll make that up. This is where he was so strong yesterday out of this turn 3. He was so good, and you can see Kyle Wyman has got a better start. He's up in behind J.D. Beach. He's going to get a double draft from J.D. Beach and Cameron Beaubier, I believe. You can see that number 33 Ducati just stuck in right behind.
So a much better start for him. Tony Elias, first time down into turn 5 today. and Cameron Beaubier behind his teammate Garrett Gerloff. The change in tire strategy for those Yamahas. They went with the harder compound. You can see Tony Elias with the green stickers on the side of his Dunlop. That's extra soft compound available. So that's what they're using. And Tony had switched to that extra soft front tire, by the way. And I asked him why, and he said because Garrett Gerloff and Cameron Beaubier were using it. See, different front tire for Josh Herrin.
Yeah, for sure. They're on just a little bit different compound, right, Greg? So the extra soft is going to allow them to have maybe a little bit more grip. And they also base that off of what the weather and the temperature of the track. Track temperatures will make a big difference on that. Right now, Josh Herrin is in the progress of trying to make up that little bit of gap that was created at the start. Look how good he gets into the chicane now. He's a little bit wide. I thought he was going to be able to get it turned. He did get it turned, but it ran him a little bit wide in the middle. Garrett Gerloff still trying to push along there in third.
Shock change for Josh Herrin and the Yoshimura Suzuki team. He felt like he just needed a little bit of a change. He said he might sacrifice a little out of that turn 3 that we saw yesterday. He was so good out of that corner. On Garrett Gerloff's motorcycle, the green sticker yesterday, a harder compound rear tire, now back to that softer compound. Garrett felt like he would keep him in the mix. Tony Elias, this is not what anybody in this field wanted to see.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think Josh is going to be too strong. He was really good in and through turn 1 yesterday and tremendous out of turn 3. And these guys are just, they're just kind of getting comfortable right now. And you can see Herrin is now closed up onto the back of Tony Elias as they tip off into turn 1. JD Beach is the last kind of one in that little group because there's 2.3 gap between JD Beach and Matthew Skultz there. So JD Beach is trying to go with this lead group right now.
Jake
Look at how good, look at how fast he is through the middle of the turn there, Josh Herrin. Tony just kind of gets it in there, gets it stopped as we've been used to seeing him. Doesn't use quite as much exit, but Herrin gets such a good drive out of there. Now he's going to try to go by Tony on the left if he's able to.
He's not, but did you see when Josh Herrin got in Tony Elias's draft? That bike started to move around, started to wiggle quite a bit. It's something we have
Tony's
seen.
bike, you mean, right?
Tony's bike, yeah, Tony's bike. As soon as the air got dirty behind him, it started to move around a little bit more than we've seen. Tony says he rides it like that. It's just the way that the overall, there's always going to be a sacrifice on setup on a motorcycle, and that right now seems to be what it is with the Yoshimura Suzuki of Tony Elias.
The Yosh bikes kind of yo-yo around a little bit on where one is good and where one isn't as good, and they kind of go back and forth, and you can see it because it's really 1 and 3. Josh Herrin is so fast. Look how good he is through the carousel as well, Greg. Really fast down through the carousel. Tony's kind of got it a little bit better between 6 and 7, and then Herrin's really good down here at the bottom of the track, and then I believe Tony's a little bit better from Canada corner up through the last turn. So these guys can, and what Herrin might see on his pit board when he comes by this time, they've opened up almost a second gap on this lap between those two Yamahas chasing down behind them.
Yeah, part of the strategy is they're not fighting right now, are they?
That's
All
correct.
you have is Tony Elias setting the pace and Herrin chasing after him.
Yep. And
by the way, 16-1 from a dead stop.
Yeah, that is flying. So you're going to see these guys get into the 12s probably pretty quickly here. If not this lap, but for sure the laps that are going to be leading it up. Let's see, Herrin's really close, carries a lot of nice speed through the last corner. He should be able to draft Tony if he chooses to. I think Cameron's going to want to try to get by Garrett as quickly as he can right now. Here you go. Look at the what a great view out the back of Tony Elias's bike as Josh Herrin goes up over that wheelie hill that Hannah did that great profile on, and these guys are getting into turn 1 now. Really close into there, but that's where Josh is really good in and through turn 1.
Tony just let off the lever, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he had the idea that he wanted to get through, and I think that Josh just did a good job of pulling maybe a little bit more lever on to get himself slowed down. And right now, Cameron has not been able to get by Garrett, even drafting him.
So 212.4 for Tony, 212.2. So on the first actual fast lap of the race, it's got to be Josh Herrin, who owns the outright track record.
And there goes Cameron.
Yeah, so Josh Herrin, there goes Cam, down into 5.
He's going to run a little wide, just a little bit.
He had to get on that gas as early as possible to try to close that gap, but Garrett's going to want to fight back.
Yeah, well, hopefully this will help Garrett, like maybe it'll tow him up to those lead guys again. It's really hard, though, Greg, when those gaps open up to try to close that distance. So we'll be looking on our screens here that you and I have in front of us, and you can see they've just kind of dropped JD Beach off the back now. JD went 2:13.4, so these guys were, into the 2:12s, all 4 of them.
see what kind of speed Cameron Beaubier has through the carousel. He's the third rider on that Yamaha Monster Energy Yamalube factory racing. 64 degrees out there, 8-mile-an-hour winds. I think that's gusting to higher than that occasionally. Into the chicane they go. Tony Elias, typical, right to the apex he goes. Herrin following him, gets on the gas.
I actually think that Josh's bike looks a little better today, so be interesting to see afterwards if he made any big changes. And you can see Tony's bike snapping around on him a little bit as they come down there. And Cameron Beaubier has closed that gap and brought Garrett with him as they dipped into Canada corner.
Different ways to approach a corner. You could see that Tony Elias goes in there really hot and then squares it up. Josh Herrin carrying more roll speed through Canada corner. Turn 14.
That's what I mean. There's just two different riding styles. Getting the job done the exact same way when you start looking at the stopwatch.
Looks like Beaubier is dragging Gerloff a little closer.
He's definitely trying.
Come across the stripe this time. 12-6, 12-7 for Tony and Josh. 12-4 for Beaubier. Making some inroads. I've said this in race number 1, but 2018 race 1 here at MotoAmerica. It was Josh Herrin who owns the race lap record at 211.915. They're only a couple tenths off of that right now, and they haven't really gotten frantic yet.
Nope, and I want to see if Josh chooses to, again, not draft down this back straightaway. Right now, he's deep in the draft. Look at that thing wobble, like you said, Greg, last time. See, you know what I'm seeing right now? I'm seeing a little bit of what we saw Josh Herrin do at COTA. And if you remember before the start of that race, he was talking about, hey, I'm going to just try to ride an intelligent race. I'm going to keep my stuff clean and just do what I need to do. And right now, I'm seeing that out of him. This is another good ride from him, just staying on the back of his teammate. Neither one of these guys getting in each other's way. Cameron now is trying to close that gap. As you said, he went 12.452 that last lap by.
Talking with the Yoshimura team itself, we talked about the different styles of setup between Tony Elias and Josh Herrin, telling me that their setups are very similar. There's a distinct difference, and it's the way the linkage that connects the shock and the swing arm together. You can have different ways to design that, different rates, and they have distinctly different linkages.
Yep.
And it's part of, I think, what you're seeing with Tony Elias. He just likes a bike that can get to an apex and get, breaking to a corner, but he loses a little stability on the straightaway is what you're seeing with the shaking of that motorcycle right there.
And it doesn't seem to bother him. Wow, great pass. Is Herrin going to go? See, I like he's kind of just letting him know, hey, I'm here. I'm not doing anything, and I'm waiting. Because to me, the fastest guy through the carousel right now looks like Josh Herrin. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So it looks like he's really fast. And that's going to be something that he's going to be able to hold in his back pocket and might not want to show Tony just yet. The thing is he as well is going to be looking at his pit board. And this time by, what's it going to say?
I don't know, but Beaubier's right on him now.
It's going to say +0 is what it's going to say. Josh Herrin's going to have a +0 on his board if he hasn't already. These guys have had kind of a second, but see what happens? These Yoshimura Suzukis are so fast. Look at how quick they pull away from Cameron as they go down that front straightaway. Tony goes off into turn 1 again. Herrin pulled up alongside of him there, Greg, and it looked like he was going to try to make a move to the left side of him as they went into turn 1. And it'll be interesting to see Josh's strategy now if he knows Cameron's right behind him.
Not setting the world on fire in terms of lap times. It was a 2:12.9 for both Tony and Josh, but it was a 2:12.6 for Beaubier. So those kinds of times are within striking distance.
And there we go. So now he has made the pass. Is Cameron going to go by Tony as well? Is Cameron going to go straight to the front? He is. Cameron Beaubier goes past both Yosh bikes as he goes down into there. Herrin's going to cut it back up underneath him. Tony, let's see if Tony goes up underneath Cameron as they go into turn 6. Gets awful tight in there. And see that? That's good. That's good racecraft by Cameron Beaubier. He could have easily closed off into turn 6 as they're still tight going through turn 7. Racing hard. Is Garrett Gerloff going to get a drive on his teammate as they go down into 8? Garrett falls in behind. Now they're going to get to see the potential of what Josh Herrin is able to do down through this carousel. If Josh can be as fast as he has been down through here, and I'm just looking to see if he's pulling away at all.
A little bit.
But I'd say it's a little bit for sure.
Obviously, Beaubier feels like he has more pace than Tony Elias at the moment. And he does not want to let Josh Herrin get away because Herrin has the ability to do that.
Yep.
Not that if Beaubier would get by Elias, it would be panic time because we've seen Elias in the past just get stronger in the middle of the race.
Yep. Nope, you're exactly right. And I want to just see what Herrin's pace is if he gets to lead a full lap. he's good through here too, Josh Herrin. I love how he gets out of Canada corner and gets up this hill. And Tony, see how Tony cuts the entry off to 13 just a little bit more? It's a tricky corner there, but we see a lot of riders do a lot of different things as they come up that hill. So now Herrin's going to try to get a good drive out of here and see if he's done enough. He'll feel Tony getting into his draft in a minute, but he's got a nice little gap right now as they come onto this front straightaway.
Herrin had a missile yesterday, a little faster than Tony's bike, and he'll go 2:13.6.
So the pace definitely dropped, and that's going to be because these guys got in each other's way a little bit down in turn 5, meaning Cameron Beaubier went underneath both of them, and that kind of thing. So now he's going to get to do maybe a clean lap on his own as you get to look at both the Yoshimura Suzuki crew and the Yamaha factory racing team looking at their monitors, watching this race just like we are.
Upper right-hand part there, that's Rick Hobbs, the crew chief for Cameron Beaubier, and he told me a lot of the strategies they were working on this one was to reduce the amount of electronics in the bike to kind of free up that Yamaha a little bit more. And when we get onto the front straightaway, it doesn't seem like it's just exactly right, because the way that these Suzukis get off the corner and their top speed, the ability to get there a little bit more than the Yamahas. But Beaubier's here through what we call the infield part of the road course.
Gets a little closer, doesn't he? And we've just went through the little spots where Tony pulls up a little bit, because Josh, again, tremendous through turns 1 and turns 3. Now they're coming out of turn 8 down into this carousel spot again.
He just throws her into the carousel, gets a good drive out of 8.
Looks great down through here, yeah. And you know, it's a little bit of the carrot effect. When you have that guy in front of you, it'll make you want to get through things a little bit faster. And in this case, I think it's going to probably help Tony to see, oh, Josh in there a little bit deep, gets it turned, but just got into that chicane a little bit too fast. Tony looks back and sees 2 blue bikes right up him right there. So, and Garrett Gerloff gets a drive on his teammate Cameron Beaubier as they go through this fast kink, both fighting for that draft with Tony Elias just in front.
31, Garrett Gerloff up to 3rd spot. Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing, sophomore in this class.
And who's proven to show that he's more than capable of winning these races. It's just a matter of getting that done now. As they come out of and into the last corner, Garrett Gerloff takes a shot. Good for him, past Tony Elias as they come out of that last corner. So now Tony knows he's got a race on his hands with those guys behind him. So Cameron Beaubier should get a double draft here too.
Can Beaubier get into the double slipstream? It looks like he's in it, but is it going to help him or just stay close? Tony Elias, he doesn't go by Gerloff. I really thought that was a foregone conclusion.
Yep, I think he's going to say, all right, let's see, go take a shot at Josh if you want, Garrett, and see what's going on. We're only on lap 7 of 13, so you know, there's just strategies being played out. I think we pretty much know that nobody's going to really be able to break away, but look at the gap that he has coming out of turn 3.
So Josh Herrin, 2:13.9, 13.5s last time by. Fastest part of the racetrack before they roll off the throttle and snatch the brakes into 5. It's Tony. He loves the apex of that corner. So he gets by Gerloff. Does he have the pace to reel in his teammate Herrin, or
can Josh continue? Josh's done a good job leading these races. He did the same thing yesterday. He did a good job. Yesterday it seemed like I still see a little bit of it on the front of Josh's bike, but
there's something we don't see every day, which is Tony's foot off the peg.
Yeah, we don't see that very often.
Deep into a corner. He's going for it. He doesn't want to let Herrin get away at all.
He can see the pace through here pretty easy. And we've seen Josh just a couple times get into this chicane that they're coming down into. We've seen him get into this little area just a couple times, a little bit too fast and run wide in the middle. This time it looks like he's, again, just a little bit. And you can tell by when you look at where the other guys are kind of turning and tipping in. And but he gets out of there very nicely that lap.
The sun is shining here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin and MotoAmerica as we have Josh Herrin leading the way from Tony Elias, Derek Gerloff, and the #1 of Cameron Beaubier. As we're about halfway through this race, we're going to start seeing some sparks fly in this one. Very typical for EBC Brakes Superbike class, where you'll see franticness at the beginning of the race, settling down in the middle, and then as they start to get closer to the end, it's going to start getting crazy.
Yep. No, I think that you're going to see some stuff happening. And right now, I think Cameron Beaubier is just kind of sitting there. He realizes that nobody's getting away right now. His teammates doing a really good job as Garrett Gerloff hanging on the back of these guys too. 213s, 212 for Tony that time as they went across. So he was the only guy in 212. JD Beach 13 flat.
A little bit of a bump, and that happens often with Tony Elias. He doesn't always have great connection with the foot pegs. A smaller in stature rider doesn't drive the balls of his foot pegs into those pegs all the time, Jason. So sometimes when Tony hits a bump, it looks like he's going to fall off the inside of the bike. That's what we saw in turn 1.
Yep.
There's the wobble. There it is.
And it's just still all a feeling out process for all these guys. That's what they're doing. They've all raced against each other enough to know each other's small idiosyncrasies and things. So now it's just a matter of what they're planning, who's planning what, and when they're going to make the plan come into effect. I think we've seen Cameron do this before where he kind of sits back there and then he'll start to make some moves probably in the next, I would say the next couple laps for sure. With at least 2 to go, 3 to go, we'll see Cameron start to try to make some moves.
I don't know if the first one. Yeah, I think it's the first one because he felt like those 2 Yosh bikes were starting to check out on him a little bit.
And if I'm Garrett, I'm not really that worried about it because Cameron pulled them back up the last time that happened. And, you know, here we go again with the little bit of corner speeds in and through the carousel. You kind of got to wonder what's going through Cameron's mind right now because he's definitely got to be trying to think of where he wants to try to do something and when he can do something. Here's a replay down the front straightaway. Out the back of Tony's bike as he just slid up underneath Josh Herrin nicely at the end of that straight.
Yeah, you can see great body position by Herrin. He's already set up, ready to go, knee out on that one.
Yep.
Corner's coming up, and he's ready to pounce on it. So Tony at the front, controlling the pace for the moment. It's quick, 13-1, 12-9. It's not the fastest pace we've ever seen. Of course, it's not the warmest day either. The temperature is 64 degrees. We've been here before when it's been in the 80s and the tires work perfectly. Yeah. Track temp, though, with the sun beating on it, looks like it would be great conditions. So, up the wheelie hill. Little bit of the front wheel in the air for number 2, Josh Herrin. Yep. Side by side they go.
Right up against that wall where all the people put out their pit boards. So,
deep on the brakes.
You can just see such a riding difference between the two. You can see how early Josh gets on the gas. And again, here, Tony gets in early. You're going to see Josh really close up on the exits and then be able to draft.
The other thing I like, though, is that Josh Herrin doesn't get sucked into what Tony Elias is doing. He's not saying, well, Tony's just getting it sideways going to the apex. Josh, especially to turn 3, is running his race. And that's what you're seeing right here is Josh Herrin's ability to pull up next to his teammate as Elias gets it a little sideways. Not quite on the apex, but still really well done.
Yeah, really solid for both of them. They got it in there fast. And, you know, Herrin's trying. Anytime I see Josh maybe going to the right side of Tony down that straightaway, it makes me think he's not going to try to do any kind of passing down there because Tony has the inside. So, and Herrin's just judging that. And here comes Cameron Beaubier now. 2:12.7 the last time through for Cameron. These guys also did a 12.7 and a 12.9, but Cameron's on a fast lap through segments 2 and 3 now, trying to close up, and you can see they just dropped Garrett a little bit now through these second and third sectors. But look how good the Yosh bikes get through the carousel, both of them.
And that's the thing. If you're Beaubier at this point, it's like, not that you ever give up. He's going to fight till the end, but you're saying where?
Catch him, but hard to pass him.
Catch him? Okay, catch him's number 1.
Yes.
Now I have to pass him, but where can I catch him? And how much of an advantage do I have? Because we know on the front straightaway, these 2 motorcycles are eating up that Yamaha, at least today.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what we saw at COTA, and you can catch these guys, but it's difficult to pass. And then even if you get past, can you hold them off? That's the hardest thing, because the run to the flag here is such a long way away. At COTA, we saw Cameron taking shots a couple turns from the end because the run from the last corner to the finish is not that far, but here it's a little bit further away.
Herrin was trying to get a drive, by the way. He was trying to get a drive to get by his teammate in turn 14.
Yeah,
so
this
Herrin,
is going to be a fast lap, Greg.
Yeah.
Or Garrett's just ran into some sort of little issues. Let's see what they do. 2:12.3, 2:12.4. So there you go, Greg. All 3 of these guys are in the very low 2:12s.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing the pace now. The fastest lap is a 2:12.2 by your second rider on the screen, Josh Herrin. That time by, it was 2:12.3 for Tony Elias. So it's starting to get heated now, as we see in these races. 3 3/4 lap to go at this point. Josh Herrin knows he's formulating a plan. How do I get by Tony Elias and make it stick?
He's just rolling off down that straight. Look at Cameron. Oh my gosh, Cameron is so deep in there.
By the way, when I was talking to Rick Hobbs, we were talking about Cameron's body position.
Yeah.
And you can see when Cameron's starting to really get serious.
Yeah.
And Hobbs said, the moment I see Cameron's foot come off of a foot peg, I know that he is rocking. Yep.
I mean, he just made up 8 bike legs that look like going down into there. And this is what he's got to do, because the only way that Cameron's going to be able to win this race is he's got to rough guys up, and that's what you're going to see. I think he's going to try to do something, but you would expect something, maybe a shot thrown out of this chicane, but I just don't know if he can get close enough to these two guys as they go through here. I mean, it's unusual to see bikes pull away from Cameron in a corner, but literally they just pull a little bit of a gap on him down through that carousel. And very, very rarely do you see Cameron's bike out of line, too.
But it's out right now.
It is. He's pushing really, really hard. And I mean, that lap, they went a second quicker than Garrett, and that's what was the difference in that lap, to just pull away from those guys, or pull away from Garrett.
And Josh Herrin has a plan that he's working on, and Cameron Beaubier could disrupt that as well. So right now, it's Tony Elias having his way out front. Going exactly the way he wants it to go. He knew he couldn't break away. He knew he couldn't shake Josh Herrin. He knew Beaubier would be around there.
I think Josh is in a really good spot. I don't really feel like he's at too much of a threat. Like, he probably feels like he's not at too much of a threat from anybody behind him, even though he's got Cameron back there. He knows how fast his bike is down these straights. So pulling away down these straights, you can see this is at the front of Cameron Beaubier's bike, and you can see those guys just getting smaller. And when they're drafting and redrafting, it makes it even harder to stay with them. But I think Herrin's in a good spot because he's watching what Tony's doing. He's able to pace. He's being able to make a plan of what he wants to try to do with Tony on the last lap without too much fear of what's going on behind him.
I just can't believe how hard Cameron Beaubier has to ride his Yamaha just to keep up with these Yosh bikes. There was a big bobble. So there it was. It started to snap a little sideways.
Is that a bobble, or did he let off?
No, it was whap, whap.
Yeah.
Just as you were looking at the timing and scoring screen, he was hard on the gas.
Right?
It started to spin up, and it started to wind up the chassis a little bit, and that gave Josh Herrin the right to go to the front.
Cameron is in there so deep. Yeah, I missed it, Greg. I was looking at timing and scoring for us, and as I've said, Tony doesn't use quite as much exit, and you can see the bike just get jumped up out of shape a little bit, and Herrin takes that and goes right by. So yeah, it just doesn't use quite as much exit as Herrin does out of the exit of that corner.
3 laps to go in this one. Josh Herrin has taken the lead over Tony Elias and Cameron Beaubier. The question is Tony Elias in trouble with that rear tire? Has he asked too much of it? Because Josh Herrin at the moment looks to be in control of this one. It's Elias in second spot, Beaubier in third, Garrett Gerloff adrift in fourth. Matthew Skoltz, JD Beach, Jake Gagne, Kyle Wyman in 8th, Jake Lewis, and Cam Peterson, your top 10.
Pretty solid throw again for the two guys back. It feels like Josh is getting the bike slowed down as he wants it, but it just seems like he's a little bit tighter in that right to me, Greg, so it makes it a little bit harder on the flop from left to right. Tony's closed that gap back now, but you can see how the gap kind of, see how that slinky effect that we talked about? Herrin's really good from the apex to the exit of here. And now will Tony be patient and sit back there, or will he try to go by Josh? That's, I think, the question. Here you go. Cameron Beaubier is taking his first shot as he goes up underneath Tony Elias in the last corner.
On that one, it didn't look like Tony had any wheel spin.
Yeah.
Coming out of that final corner. That's what I'm really keeping an eye on at the moment. That would have been the best opportunity for Beaubier to get in the draft.
Yeah, just couldn't do it, could he?
Yeah, but it's not like he's getting dropped on this one. He's a lot closer. Boy, that is such a fast corner in turn number 1.
It is.
So
let's look at the times. 2:12.5 Herrin runs on that lap on his own there, so that's a good sign for him that he's still got that mid-12 pace in his laps. We're looking at, let's see how Tony gets out this time. You can see just a little bit of pumping, can't you? Just an ever slightly, just a little bit of pumping out of Tony's bike there. It looked like it was trying to do what it had done. Look at things still wobbling, Greg, as he goes down the straightaway.
And he might have a variety of traction control strategies built into his handlebars. He's got buttons on his handlebars.
Yep.
All these riders do. Ooh.
That's just Tony getting the thing in there. You know, he gets it to the apex, shoots it out, and Cameron's trying to carry a lot of speed in and roll through there. If Cameron can take a shot at Tony maybe down into turn 8, it might change things. You see how out of shape Cameron was there?
Yeah.
Cameron was really out of shape there too, and he's got a run on Tony right now. Let's see if he tries to do something down here. Just a little bit too far back. Hard place to do it.
Lap and a half to go. Into the carousel. It's been a strong suit of Josh Herrin today. Both these Yoshimura Suzukis ripping through this section of racetrack. Cam Beaubier trying to hold on. If he can get close enough to Tony, he might try to throw him a shot into the chicane. No, not going to happen on this one.
I like how Josh did it that time. That looked a little bit better and cleaner through the middle. And so that's going to give him a really good drive. See how that drive, how he still has that little bit of a gap on Tony, which will make it hard for Tony to be able to do anything with him in Canada corner. If Josh can do that, if he is in that spot on the last lap and can do that exact same thing, he really did open up a nice little gap coming out of the chicane.
Herrin told me he's got a lot of confidence if he leads out of the last corner that he can take it from the lead to the checkered flag and win this one.
Yeah, I believe that he can as well. He's really solid up through here. Nobody's going to be able to try to go up underneath him in this section. You can see Tony gets in there early. Josh going to carry some good speed. And this is almost like a trial run. And at this point here, if it was like this on the last lap, I don't think Tony would get by him by the start-finish line. Let's have a look as we see the white flag waving, Greg.
Well, timing and scoring has it as Herrin coming across the line. That time at 2:12.5, but Tony knows if he's got a chance, he's got to do this.
Yep, and that's what he has to do. Now see if Josh turns it back up underneath him. Nope, Tony gets the pace slowed down. See if Herrin takes a shot as they come down into turn 3.
He's got to try to block him. No, that would have been the move. That would have been pretty hairy. But Tony's got to try to squeeze on. Look at the corner speed of Herrin. Can he get on the gas? Oh, a good one by Tony.
Yeah, but it kind of looked like Josh had to kind of get out of the throttle just a little bit. And look where Tony is. He's all the way on the left. If you're going to pass him, you got to go down the outside. And let's see how tight he is when they get down to the bottom. He's keeping it mid-track. See, that's how you close a line right there, Greg. So now, Herrin knows he's going to have to do this somewhere else. And I feel that he's still in a very good position as Josh, even as they come out of that last corner, because Tony goes into the last corner so tight, Herrin should be able to run some corner speed through there. But now he's got to worry about Cameron, because with Tony running kind of tight defensive lines, it's going to get them all closer together. He's got to worry about seeing a blue bike go up underneath him. Now, Herrin did a good job here as well.
So Tony Elias, did he play it right? Josh Herrin, does he feel like he can draft past Tony before the finish line? Look at Herrin, he's going down to no man's land. It can be pretty dirty out there, pretty dangerous, but he's trying to roll through it. He's got to take a shot at him into the chicane.
He is going to take a shot at him. You're not lying, Greg. Let's see if he can do that. And he does. He gets by him as they go into the chicane. Now, if he can just control it here and get as good a drive out of here as he did last lap, Greg.
Wow.
And there you go. Tony Wheely's coming out of there. So it's not going to happen down in Canada corner. So Josh has done exactly what I thought he needed to do through that chicane. Meanwhile, Cameron's just got the bike sideways. You see him out of turn 8, how sideways he got. Good for Josh. Runs a nice defensive tight line into Canada corner, and he gets out of there pretty nicely. Now, this is where he's got to try to make it to where Tony doesn't go up underneath him. I want to see if Josh closes up. And Cameron Beaubier is trying to look up underneath Tony right now. That could be what helps Josh Herrin. Here, Tony goes down.
Your championship points leader locked up the front, and down he goes. To the start-finish line we come. It's going to be Josh Herrin. He comes up to the top of the hill. And what a last corner, last lap victory for Josh Herrin. Cameron Beaubier will finish second. Tony Elias is losing points by the moment as Garrett Gerloff comes across the line third. JD Beach in fourth, Skultz in fifth.
Oh, it broke the right handlebar off. He got the bike started and it's still running.
Oh, for Tony Elias.
And that was a perfect last lap by Josh Herrin. I thought he was defensive in the right spots. He was important to get out of the spots together, and that's just simply an error. Cameron Beaubier went up underneath Tony, and Tony just locked the front brake up just a little bit, and that's devastating for him in the championship. Remember, Greg, last year he came in here with a big points lead.
Yep.
It looked like his lead was going to be bigger this year. That's going to be a hard one. You can see Cameron Beaubier has made the decision. He's going to go up underneath, and you're going to see Tony just rolling in and just locks that front brake up, and we see this happen to the best of the best riders in the world, and today it caught out Tony Elias.
Wow, 29 points. 29 points heading into today for Tony Elias. So he's still going to have the championship points lead, but it's only going to be 9.
And guess what else it does? It gives Josh Herrin 25 important points, so he's going to close up as well. We've seen him get some struggles, but today he rode very, very, very well.
What an impressive race by Josh Herrin. The California native out of Georgia. And California has done the business here at MotoAmerica. Well-played strategy. He fought back in the exact spot he needed. A replay of Tony Elias, the onboard, just asked too much of that front Dunlop tire, locked it up, couldn't get it started. And Tony Elias.
He was the first one to put his hand up too. Well, Tony, and you can see here, I think that helmet was going for a ride possibly, but anyways, yeah, good for Josh Herron. He really rode well today. It was a little bit of the Josh that we saw at Coda, I think. He just rode very intelligently. Cameron Beaubier, he just did everything he possibly could do. He's going to feel good about, I think he's going to feel as good as he can about second place.
Bottom line is that Josh Herron and the pace that he ran that last corner, and the fact that Cameron Beaubier went up the inside and fought Tony Elias created that mistake by Tony.
Yep, there's
and
no
that's
question.
what a championship fight is all about.
And we generally see Tony go in pretty tight, and he was a little bit wider than he normally is, probably trying to get a run out of that last corner, and then Cameron comes up underneath him. And I'm not going to say it probably surprised him. There's a good look at Tony. I'm just glad he's okay. He'll be ready to go to Utah in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be one that will frustrate him today. He's still looking back thinking, what did I just do?
What he has been able to bring to this MotoAmerica EBC Brakes Superbike class and the championship, the fight that this Spaniard has. Today it's a disappointment, but we know he's going to be back to fight another day.
He's actually a little wider than we've seen him, Greg, and it's just simply that I feel like he was trying to get a run, and then maybe the fact that Cameron was coming up underneath him could have surprised him maybe a little bit, but I think he was just trying to get a run on Josh. But Josh had great corner speed to that last corner. It would have been hard for him to do it anyway. So
Tony Elias introducing his helmet to the fence in frustration, and that moment will pass for Tony. But it's going to be Josh Herron, Cameron Beaubier, Garrett Gerloff with another podium, as Tony will get a ride into the pits. JD Beach in fourth, Matthew Skultz in fifth, Kyle Wyman in sixth place. So definitely a different result for Kyle. 183 miles per hour on the straightaway.
Fast.
Oh, very fast for that bike. Looking forward to that.
Jake Gagne back there seventh. Jake Lewis has had just some issues all weekend in eighth. We're not used to seeing him back there. Cam Peterson ninth. So I know Cam ran, what did he go, 2:14.6, Greg? So, yeah.
Well, Jake Lewis and his crew, too, the M4 X-Star Suzuki team, there was an issue with the shock yesterday. It lost all of its rebound and compression damping. So you have to think, too, that in the laps that were dry, probably from laps from 4 laps to go to the end of the race, they missed valuable data as well. So a little behind the 8 ball for that team. They'll be back to fight strong in a couple of weeks. But for this guy right here, Josh Herron, celebration at Road America.
Yeah, really good job.
His second race win of the season. And he's going to look at that race tonight, watch the coverage, and just be amazed at how well his racecraft played out. All right, we'll take a break. On the other side of this commercial break, we're going to hear from how it went for these riders. Stay with us. Today's coverage has been brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the 2019 MotoAmerica Championship. Victory, high drama, a lot of points, so much, so much going on here, so many stories. Josh Herron shaking the camera. What a win, what a smile on his face. What a last lap.
Yeah, really great last lap. He ran 2:12.7 on his last lap, running defensive in a couple of spots. So really, really solid. And he was really good in the spots he needed to be, Great. Coming out of turn 3, specifically all weekend, like we've talked about, out of the chicane there. He was really solid, fast through the carousel. So there was a lot of places during that last lap that he was able to use to his advantage and really put the pressure on people. And here's a view out the back of Tony Elias's bike coming in on the trailer.
All right, let's head down to Hannah, who has our third place finisher, Garrett Gerloff.
All right, quite the battle up front with you, especially with those Suzukis and with your teammate. Take us through the end of that race for you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, getting a little lucky today. I feel bad for Tony. They were all riding super good, and man, I felt like I had a good bike, and I felt like I was running a good pace, but literally, like, I just made a little mistake on one of the laps toward the end, and that was the same lap that I guess these guys put in a good one, and man, I lost the draft, and that was it. Like, I did everything I could to try to catch back up, but they were all feeding off each other and riding a really good pace. So, but I'll take third today. First you got to finish first to get on the podium, so that was good. Glad we kept the bike up on 2 wheels and got some good points. So this isn't historically my best track, so just glad I got through it. 2 podiums is awesome, and looking forward to the races to come, because those are some good tracks for me. So yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks to the whole team. Thanks to everybody that supports them, HAC, Cortex, CD, Yamaha Financial Services, Monster Energy, Dunlop, Olins, MotoAmerica, all the fans for being out here. Yeah, just looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Garrett.
So Jason, for Garrett Gerloff, in 8 races we've had so far this season, 5 podium appearances.
Yeah, and when you hear what he said there, Greg, he just lost that draft, and as soon as you lose it, it becomes really hard to make that up. But he has shown that he's always right there, and you'll see him there on the left side of his teammate as they came out of that chicane. But he's right there today. You know, there's been races like the round 1 when he fell, gave a bunch of points away. But let's get back down to Hannah with Cameron Beaubier.
So we could see that you were pushing really, really hard at the end there to try and keep up with those 2 Suzukis, and you had a front row seat to Tony's mistake. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, definitely. I was giving it everything I had and more. And yeah, it even forced me to get into 5 deeper on the brakes than I've ever done before with the front wiggling around there. And yeah, Josh and Tony were just setting an incredible pace, and I was doing everything I could to hang on, like I said. And I'm not sure. I just tried to go up the inside of Tony the last corner, and I came out of the corner, and I just got as tight as I could, and came across the line second and looked back, and he wasn't there. And I saw on the TV screen that he's picking his bike up out of the gravel. Glad he's okay. That's a bummer, but I'm really happy to get 2 podiums here for Yamaha. Yeah, a decent start to the season, and I really love this place. Big thanks to all the fans for coming out, and yeah, hats off to my guys, Bell, Alpine Stars, the man above, for keeping me safe, and yeah, roll on to the next round.
Congrats, Cam.
Yeah, and with that, of course, Cam Beaubier now closes up this championship. It looked like it might be a Tony Elias checkout, and MotoAmerica proving 2 seasons in a row to tighten things up, because it was 2 points advantage for Cam last year. Now he's just 9 points behind Tony Elias.
And when he says he was getting deep into turn 5, he was getting deep into turn 5. It was pretty incredible to watch the display that Cameron Beaubier was putting on for those fans down there in 5.
I want to go take a look at his data after this one, because I'll be very interested to see on that lap how deep and how much bar of pressure he was actually pulling on that brake lever. All right, let's get down to Hannah, who has a very happy Josh Herron.
So after the events that transpired yesterday, you got to be feeling pretty good and a huge sense of redemption right now with a win today.
Yeah, for sure. You know, first and foremost, it's a bummer to see Tony go down. I didn't know that he went down until I saw the TV on the cool-off lap, so it's a bummer for sure. I know what he was thinking was that he had to get a run on us because our bike was moving good today, but I just felt good getting in the tuck and felt comfortable. You know, he was running a really good pace. I didn't want to go by him earlier in the race. I just pulled out of the draft to get on the side of him instead of being right on his wheel, and he rolled off thinking I was trying to race with him, but I was comfortable just sitting behind him, and I dropped off the pace a little bit for a couple laps just because I wasn't used to doing the pace by myself. But then once I picked it up by myself at the end, starting to feel comfortable. The Yoshimura Suzuki's a rocket ship. I've been telling people on social media all year that thing's fast as hell, and no one wants to believe me, but maybe they believe me now. Thing's a missile. I'm having so much fun riding, and it's just taking a little while to get used to get a setup that I'm comfortable with. The thing's set up to be a lot more of a race bike than what I'm used to, and it's hard to get in that window, but once you do, the thing's fast. Thanks to my whole crew, thanks to Yoshimura Suzuki, Fresh and Lean, Cycle Gear, Toyota Escondido, Bell Helmets, Alpine Stars, Cycle Gear, everybody for their help, and just pumped to be up on top of the podium again and looking forward to the next race.
Thanks, Josh. Congratulations.
All right, Jason, for Josh Herron, he's had only 2 podium appearances this season, and both of them have been wins.
Yeah, so it's win it or not for Josh, but he rode great today, Greg, and it was good to see that, you know, we kind of called it earlier in the race that it didn't look like he wanted to go past, and we saw him pulling out of the draft, and it looked like he was just riding an intelligent race. And, you know, when he made this pass into the chicane there with a lap or so to go, you could tell that he had the pace to get out of the chicane. He was so good through the carousel. They could gap it there on the TV, but tremendous victory, even after what happened yesterday, and you can see how happy he is.
All right, we'll take a break. On the other side, more coming at you from MotoAmerica from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.